Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. This is the raw reaction as Inter Miami loses to LAFC 3-0 on opening night. I think there's a lot of things to talk about after that game.
Are there?
But I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling?
I think I expected it. I predicted it. I think Inter Miami is a step behind LAFC in terms of where they are in the season right now. At the start of the season, this team has a few things to figure out. I know there will be a lot of blame on individual players, but I don't think it was that. I think it was the setup. It was the structure. It would take some time to understand how this team should be optimized at its most. And I don't know if Javier Mascherano is going to be able to do that in the next 2 weeks before the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But I don't want to blame individual players. There were some moments that I thought we looked good, especially at the start of that second half. But overall, a very lackluster performance, especially in that final third. Defensively, we were very poor, especially in that second half, once we started to chase the game. And I thought the front line was completely Silvetti nowhere to be seen, Berterame nowhere to be seen, Messi was quite poor. Rodrigo de Paul Bright looked fine in the middle. When we went to a 3, it looked good. Maybe there is a bit to talk about. I'll stop there. What do you think?
I don't know if this should be about all the negatives or if we should be trying to find silver linings, because I saw some things that were interesting to me. Because it is opening day in the MLS, and there'll be plenty of time to make up for it. But also, we were really excited, and this is a really good team that we might have to play in an important match at some point this year. You wanted to put your best foot forward, and clearly they didn't. Here's my top line takeaway. Were there individual mistakes that we could talk about and put blame on players for? Sure. But to me, the biggest thing that stood out was a lack of communication and understanding of each other on a line-by-line basis. I thought the defense had several misunderstandings. I thought the offense had. I thought the way that everyone interacted with Berterame just showed they had not spent much time interacting with each other. And so for the first half especially, I thought it was just the offense being so dysfunctional that was really making it difficult for us to create real opportunities. But that we were holding together relatively fine. It just there was no final product in the sort of final third. Go ahead. We've lost you. Your mic's off, or you're on mute, actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You make a very important point that obviously this team doesn't necessarily know how to play with civil players. There's lack of chemistry between Falcon and Mikhail, which was evident. We conceded a couple of goals because of that. Berterame did not fit into that front line at all. But I think it was exacerbated even more so by the structure that we were playing. It made it a lot more difficult to get Berterame into the game when you try to force things through the middle, especially when LAFC is just clogging up the center. You didn't have Noah Allen overlapping. Ian Frey was not overlapping in that first half. Once Moura started doing it, it looked a lot better. Berterame had one chance that he pushed out, but I think chemistry was definitely an issue, probably the most important issue in the game, exacerbated even further by the setup.
I also think I have to point this out from the very get-go. Comparing anything from the first half of that game to the second half of this game, I think is really doing a disservice. LAFC came out high pressing, trying to play in Inter Miami's half. And even though they were comfortable with Inter Miami having the ball, they were trying to create advantageous situations all the time. That second half, they just low blocked from the first whistle of the second half. So, Facundo Moura in the second half, Noah Allen more so in the second half, Silvetti in the second half. They all looked better than they did in the first half, but it was because LAFC was just inviting pressure and was comfortable saying, we will not let you get an opportunity of high quality. And Inter Miami is good enough to create one or two, and we saw that. Allende had a shot that, he put right at Lloris, but if that's in the corner, it's a goal, and then obviously the header by Berterame. Those are the one or two moments that Inter Miami was able to sneak through, but that was something LAFC was comfortable saying, if you're only going to create 2 half chances, we're all comfortable being in a low block for the rest of this game. So
Yeah,
I just want to be careful about comparing the first half and the second half because they were very different games.
what I'm going to say is probably not even related to this, but I was very confused that Inter Miami was doing really well from the 45th minute to the 60th, and then they just take off bright when things were actually working. We were only 1-0 down. It was probably only a matter of time before we actually snuck one in or created that opportunity, and then we take bright off for Allende, which changes the nature of the structure again. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too fixed.
You lost your mic. I hear what you're saying. It was 68th minute. I agree with you. I thought Inter Miami was clearly in control of the game from the start of the second half until the 68th minute. Again, LAFC was low blocking, but Inter Miami was finding ways to create opportunities, and they looked fine. From Mascherano's perspective, you're getting down to the final 20, 25 minutes. You want to bring another attacker onto the field. I'm not sure exactly who you bring off in order to put Allende on, if not Yannick Bright. Last year we saw him bring off a center back. Silvetti was creating a couple things early in that second half. Berterame, I think you have faith in his talent that you want to keep him out there. So it's like, how do I get another attacking body on the field? I agree with you. I wouldn't have made that exact change. I probably would have taken Silvetti off, but I can at least understand it. Here's my one criticism for Mascherano. The first half, we played a 4-4-2 that we did all preseason, all last year. And then as soon as things went wrong, he switches to the 4-3-3 that we have been begging for since the playoffs last year. And it was so much better at maintaining possession and creating half chances and getting the ball into the final third. But because they have not run this at all, they still didn't have the patterns of play to actually create goal scoring opportunities. And so only that I'm frustrated we haven't seen that earlier. But again, this was not a good game. It's the first game of the season, and this is still a really talented team. I don't want to be overly negative on it. It just felt to me lots of players that weren't super comfortable playing with each other.
No, I think there's a lot of negativity in the chat right now, especially targeting specific players. And that's your prerogative, absolutely. But I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think I'm just going to stick with it. There were a lot of issues. I kind of expected Inter Miami to lose this game. Maybe not lose it as badly as we did. But this is a fantastic LAFC side. Their tactics were absolutely spot on. And Inter Miami's were not. We got outclassed on the pitch individually, player per player as well. And then we got outclassed tactically. Kudos to Dos Santos for actually putting out a lineup that got the best of this LAFC team against an Inter Miami team that usually hurts a lot more on transition, and then they clogged up the midfield. I genuinely think the 4-4-2 is unsustainable over the long run. It was unsustainable last season as well. We had to switch it up. I just hope Javier Mascherano comes to that conclusion much quicker this season than the playoffs. And I think that's about it.
Ash, let's go to the chat. Ash says our tactics are trash. Here's the big upside to me. This team will play so much better in a 4-3-3, and Mascherano went to it right away. As soon as the first half went poorly, he went to the 4-3-3. We saw Yannick Bright, we saw DePaul, we saw Segovia in the midfield, and it looked really good in the midfield for the first time. Now, to be clear, LAFC was low blocking, so who knows how well that will translate to, if this had happened in the first half or next game or whatever. But the fact that that's in there, the fact that you can have Messi on the right, Silvetti as a high player on the left, and where he's going to be most comfortable and fit naturally. The fact that he's willing to do that is, I think, a huge positive for me.
And it doesn't even need to be that rigid, right? You just put Segovia centrally so that he can play as that number 8 alongside Rodrigo de Paul and just push Silvetti out wide. Then Messi can be that floater and command the middle wherever he wants to. It's just as simple.
Yeah. MMK says, looks like it'll take a while to figure this new team out. I think that, to me, is the biggest takeaway. 3 games was not enough in the preseason. the last couple of years, there's been so much complaining about how long and expansive and tough our preseasons have been, and yet they prepared us for the season. And this year, I think my biggest takeaway is they didn't have enough time in the preseason.
I told you, I didn't feel that this team is ready yet, and maybe it'll be ready in the next couple of games. But right now, it just felt like the preseason was so meh, so mediocre. Not just in terms of us playing and figuring out, just generally, it just not many players got the minutes that they needed in the legs. It was very disorganized. Now we're going to play a preseason game next week, so maybe that's helpful.
Maybe we should just consider this a preseason game as part of the
Potentially.
process.
So yeah, against Orlando, we'll be all on it, man.
AZ says, yeah, Alan, Segovia, and Bright can't start. I feel like those were three of our best, maybe our three best players in this game.
I don't know, maybe Alan not, but Segovia I thought in the second half was very good. Bright, I think, did fantastic off the ball. Maybe on the ball, he could have been better. Again, pros and cons for all players. Messi wasn't perfect. Rodrigo de Paul, I thought, had some really good moments, but was not perfect. Everyone played, I think, a mediocre game. Some goods, some bads. But I saw enough positives to not be overly concerned about this.
Ash says backline should stay back. There was certainly moments where, especially in the second half, but it was, to me, not that they were too high. It's that they weren't communicating well and weren't taking care of each other. And Absolutely. It was in the first half too. And that is two parts of this. One, they're going up against Denny Bouanga and Heung-min Son. That is as hard as it gets in this continent. So first half, I want to give them like a little bit of credit. That is very hard. They need to be better, no doubt. And then my second point is they will get better. It felt like a lack of communication, lack of being comfortable with each other, lack of knowing when to go and when to stay and when to pull back and all that stuff. So I'm actually not worried about Falcone and Mikhail after this game, even though I thought neither were particularly good.
Can I add something to that? I spoke about partnerships and chemistry and being compatible with centre backs. I am slightly worried because I think Mikhail and Falcone might actually be too similar as centre backs. So either they'll have to figure out which one sits, which one goes, and who goes up, who stays back. And I think that should come with time because it's not a bad thing having two similar sort of centre backs because I do think they both can do a lot of good. Mikhail can be a really good sweeper. Falcone can be the front foot defender. So they'll just have to figure out their roles and build that chemistry. But I do wonder how it's going to play out and how long it's going to take them to figure things out.
Pep says all preseason I was concerned about ball progression and creativity. I didn't think Messi was particularly good tonight. He got better in the second half, and part of it is that like I don't think he and Bertarame were on the same page a lot, and he didn't have Dowla down the left, and like there are circumstances for it, but like I thought we got him the ball enough in creative situations, and we didn't get enough out of it. From a Lionel Messi is the greatest player of all time type perspective. And if that wasn't going to happen, then this probably wasn't going to be a game that we were going to win comfortably.
One point to that, I think creativity is going to be difficult to get when both of your front players in Bertarame and Silvetti barely had a touch of the ball in the first half. And I thought we forced it too much through the center, too much.
But that's Messi, right? Like yeah. That is playing through Messi.
Not just Messi. I thought Rodrigo de Paul was also trying to push it through the center. Segovia was trying to put it too much through the center as well. I just, again, maybe it's the field that's slightly narrower than normal, so we didn't stretch it out as much. I don't know.
Well, I think the other thing is that I thought it was better in the second half once Silvetti went high into the left. But when he's playing as that deep right midfielder, it's hard. And also, listen, again, they were low blocking the second half. I'm not sure I want to take away a ton of it. AZ says blame on individual players. Oh, you mean Frey, LOL.
I didn't think he was particularly good.
No, he wasn't. He
was very poor, yeah. And I didn't mind Javi Mascherano taking him off.
I didn't either. That said, what did you think of the substitutions? You talked about Yannick Bright halftime sub. Suarez comes in for Silvetti. Again, at this point, you're down 2-0. You're just trying to see if something will fit. I don't have a problem with it. I didn't think it was going to be effective or work, but I think you're just throwing something out there to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the Allende sub may have killed the game. And I'm not saying bringing Allende on killed the game. I think taking Bright off killed the game. You could have taken Segovia off. You could have taken Silvetti off. Maybe Silvetti was the best person to take off. I thought that killed the game.
I think those second 2 goals probably don't happen if Yannick Bright's still on the field.
And also, I don't think it was Allende's game to be impactful in, unless you're putting him as a striker up top. Because there's no space to run in behind. LAFC is sitting back.
I agree.
So, yeah.
Patrick says, I thought we figured out the formation that's most efficient in the playoffs last year. Makes no sense to the coach just trying to force players in and playing them out of position like Silvetti. I think that 4-3-3 in the second half will be devastating. Berterame and Messi have to figure out how to get on the same page. And I think we saw enough in the first couple games of the preseason that we're like, oh, they're just going to figure it out naturally. But it is not as easy as we made it seem. And again, this is a really good LAFC team.
I'd rather lose to them now than towards the end of the season. So get it out of the system.
Yeah. And Tunde says from halftime to the 69th minute was the only positive team performance-wise. And guess what? It was a 4-3-3. 100%. Lee says Messi's not 100%, and we should probably point that out. He has been nursing a hamstring injury, although he looked healthy in this game. He's also not had much of a preseason. None of these guys have had much of a preseason. And even the sort of behind closed doors things they did last weekend, he wouldn't have been a part of. So, yeah. The other thing maybe we should recognize is potentially an LAFC coach that's really good going up against Mascherano. Like that may be a bigger deal. Like we might look back at this in 6 months and think that was a bigger deal than we maybe gave it credit for. Gabriella says we need a sweeper keeper with this. Not St. Clair's not that. You want to talk about the goalkeeper?
I thought he had a positive first half. He actually saved us some embarrassing moments. His shot stopping is very good. His sweeping is not. I don't know why he came out for that second goal. Genuinely don't know. That was a bit of a brain fart from him. But the rest of the game, I thought he was quite positive. And I know I'm going to get cooked in the chat for saying that, but I genuinely thought his shot stopping was very good. He closed out angles, and there are a couple of instances where the forward line, when Martinez and Buanga missed a couple of shots, and that was because Dane St. Clair had his angles covered. And then he did what he did for that second goal, which killed the game. So maybe he was really bad because of that second goal that he conceded.
No, like I don't think it's fair as us and everything we've said about goalkeeper to not like really criticize someone for the moment that loses you the game. So
might actually be my hair in that flew north just because of that one moment, because it killed the game.
We're gonna have to go through the bingo tomorrow to see who's gonna get that one. Ash says the team isn't slow, but we play slow, and I think this is part of everything we're talking about. Once that front line gets into rhythm with each other, they will be much better and everything will seem much quicker. I think there's going to be a lot of question marks about the midfield in the first half. Aside from Rodrigo de Paul's one slip up where he gives them the ball for their first goal.
I thought he was very good.
I thought they were better than I was expecting even.
No, I genuinely thought
that said.
Wait, we're talking about the midfield, right?
With Yannick Bright and Rodrigo de Paul.
I thought they were very good in that first half, other than that one goal that we conceded. That was Rodrigo de Paul. Maybe we shouldn't be talking like that. I saw enough positives to not be too concerned. Let's just put it that way. I think I saw enough positives to not be too concerned.
Tunde says Bongo was wonderful today. Won't even lie.
Very good.
Here's what I will say.
Even Son.
Here's what I will say. And You know what? I don't want to say it. He was
Can I
excellent
say
today.
it?
I don't
I
think we're going to say the
despise
same thing.
Son. I despise Son.
That's
I
not what I was gonna say.
genuinely do not like him as a player.
Pepto says we don't need a creative midfielder. We have Segovia, the greatest cope ever.
I
What'd you think
genuinely
of?
think he's one of our best players in the middle once he actually gets the ball going. On the ball, he's brilliant.
I did too.
I don't know why people hate him.
I thought he was the most important player if we were going to make a comeback in this game because he was the only creative player that was going to create an opportunity.
The 45 to the 65th minute that Tunde pointed out in the chat, I thought Segovia and Messi were the linchpins for that time period.
Yes, and we just needed,
That last final third pass.
and that final third pass has come so often from Alba, from some connection with Jordi Alba, and it's not that they can't do it without him. It's just they still have to figure out how to do it without him, and they haven't yet. And that's against a good team. Like, it's okay.
And I think somebody said it in the chat. The goals that we conceded were actually mistakes, and mistakes can be rectified. So there's hope, guys. There's silver lining.
Tunde says, I can't quite decide if the narrow field helped us more, hindered us more, to be honest. The narrow field helped them stay compact defensively and would have killed us more, in transition. I didn't think the field was like so much more narrow that it was having a huge effect on this game. It's not like what we see at Yankee Stadium. Boss says DSC is used to playing in a low block. He looked lost the entire game. Going to take him time to adjust. This is, I think, the biggest thing for him. That moment was awful, obviously, but like this is the thing he has to learn. And he's gonna start next game, which means you got one of those. And if you're gonna do that consistently, you're gonna get benched. Period. And so if that was your one all season, we'll live. But I also think he will adjust because he hasn't been doing this. And again, that's the kind of thing you can work on in preseason.
I also disagree. I don't think he looked lost the whole game. He had some really good moments coming off his line to collect the ball, actually. That one moment
sorry.
was awful. No,
just
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
the one
the comment.
Yeah, I understand.
That one
I'm just
moment
talking about
was
the one moment.
terrible. Yeah.
I'm gonna get called a homer for this. I thought Noah Allen in the second half had some like fullback moments, and I get against the low block it was easier, but there was like some little combination plays that he looked more like a fullback than a center back for the first time, and I noticed it.
I might have to rewatch the game, but I didn't particularly enjoy his performance today.
That's fine. I wouldn't suggest he was particularly great. Sorry, guys. I'm just going through the chats. Lee says, what the heck was St. Clair coming off his line for the second goal? And why was Falcone getting back to defend? Awful. But again, so the thing about that situation is if you're at the halfway line, one of the two center backs has to be prepared for a runner in behind, and neither of them were. And so that's a communication thing.
Falcone. That had to be Falcone because he was ball watching. If you look at Mikael, he had a man on him that he was covering, and Falcone was the one who was ball watching. I think he's the one who loses the ball in the header to Buanga as well. But they had to communicate there. One of them had to drop. There was no reason for both of them to be that high up, especially when you know you have the likes of Buanga, Martinez, Son. You bring on Ordaz. Like, they got pacey players behind who can run in. And yeah, it was bad.
Okay. Big picture. Inter Miami has now lost their first game. I think the offense doesn't look good and the defense doesn't look good. And the goalkeeper made a big mistake. And the midfielders had a goal conceding mistake. And our average margin of defeat this year is 3 goals. So are we doomed? Is this all terrible? We have to play a CONCACAF Champions Cup game against Nashville in 20 days. And by the way, they were winning 3-0 at halftime today. So are you changing anything about how you feel about this team?
Not one bit. My only issue is that how long is it going to take Javier Mascherano and the team to figure it out? Simple as that. You can't beat the likes of Nashville playing in this style. The chemistry will come. It will come with time, of course. It's just a matter of how long it'll take. Simple as that.
Porfirio says Segovia needs to be allowed to take more risks, aka make more mistakes. The benefits will outweigh the costs.
That's actually a fantastic way to put it. I love the way that's been said.
But to me, that has to happen in a 4-3-3. If you're playing in this 4-4-2 where he's so deep and trying to work things out through a side channel, he has to be more conservative. But if you put him in the central part of the pitch, I agree 100%. Tony says, real question, can we beat Nashville like this?
Not the way we played today.
Not the way we played today, but also, I just want to keep coming back to this. LAFC is a fantastic team that really did a number on us in the first half, and then they closed us out by low blocking in a way that our newly put together offense couldn't figure out how to beat. And then they got a couple cheap goals going the other way.
Their game plan worked to perfection.
Okay.
Perfection. It's as simple as that. And we wouldn't concede that first goal if Rodrigo de Paul didn't give the ball away. We wouldn't concede the second goal if Dane St. Clair wasn't idiotic. I didn't even see the third goal. I didn't think that mattered. So on another day, maybe we actually nick a win or a draw here. Maybe not. But it just wasn't our day, guys. It is what it is. Fortunately, it's just the first game of the season. So hopefully the only way is up from here, right? It can only get better from here.
Are you going to read anything into who played and who didn't play? David Ajala doesn't come off the bench. I'm not sure there was a moment for him
because I think he could have started this game. That would have been his moment.
Not in a 4-4-2.
Not in a 4-4-2. No. Yeah. Not in a 4-4-2. Yeah.
Santi Morales, Daniel Pinter, David Ruiz, Lujan. You know, the one thing about taking Ian Frey off that did make me nervous at halftime was that Maxi Falcone was on a yellow card. And so if something has to come off at center back, it means Lujan has to come on. And I'm not sure that would have made me super comfortable either. But I'm fine with that. I think it's probably the right decision. Also, I do want to give Mascherano a little bit of credit because the formation change and specifically that right back change does not work if LAFC comes out with the same game plan in the second half. If they are pressing high and it's consistently getting the ball to Denny Bouanga going against Moura, it's just not going to work.
It's over. Game over.
It's over.
Yeah.
And I thought we saw enough of Bouanga going up against Moura in the second half.
Game was still over, but
yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
We did concede 2 goals in that second half, by the way.
My point being, Mascherano, I think, kind of understood that LAFC was going to do this and made changes.
Yeah.
And so that was like a prediction that he was right about. And I think he made the right changes at halftime.
I like how you're talking positively about Javier Mascherano in a way that probably doesn't even make sense, but sure. Let's give him credit there. A little bit.
Maybe we should end the raw reaction then. Any final thoughts about this game?
Hey, a bounce back game is against Independiente, and we could absolutely demolish them on Thursday, and it will be feel-good factor again. Not a great start to the season, but it's not about how you start; it's about how you finish.
Thursday to me couldn't matter any less.
Absolutely not. Oh, I was being sarcastic. It is.
No, but
play the boys and Messi.
No, you play Suarez and Messi.
Yeah.
Next Sunday, we play Orlando City. It's a rivalry game. It's at Orlando. Also, I should mention, we're playing the next 7 games on the road. Oh, 7 in the next 8 because we'll have the one CONCACAF Champions Cup game. They could get themselves into a hole if they can't get a couple wins here. So, Orlando City did not look great tonight. Hopefully they can go get a win there. But speaking of that game, what would your 11 be based on today?
I might actually go with the same. Well, okay. My 11, if I'm Javier Mascherano, I would go with a 4-3-3 with what we started. Okay, actually, no. I'll just put Segovia more central, Messi out wide, Silvetti on the left, and play that 4-3-3. Maybe Allende instead of Actually, no. I would stick with the starting 11. Just play a 4-3-3 instead.
I would too. I would stick with the same starting 11. I know a lot of people are going to say Facundo Mura, but
No.
I wouldn't. I would go with Ian Frey. Won't surprise me, but I would still go with Ian Frey. All right, Saur. That was a raw reaction. For those that don't know, or this is your first time watching us, we will rewatch the game tomorrow, and we will do a full game breakdown tomorrow evening. He's shaking his head because he doesn't want to rewatch that particular game. But we will do that. So I hope you guys will join us tomorrow for a more informed and hopefully better reasoned post-game show where oftentimes we rewatch and we're more critical of certain players or less critical of certain players. So if you didn't feel like there was enough frustration, maybe you will get that tomorrow. Or maybe you'll get more silver linings depending on what we see. But until then, I hope you guys have a lovely night. We'll see you guys next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of